Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing great? Excited. We're excited to have all of you in here with us to talk about leveraging Power BI integration with PowerApps and Microsoft Flow for action on real-time data. My name is Kathy Du, and I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager for PowerApps and Flow. And Charles, Chuck?
Charles Sterling, I'm a Senior Program Manager, and I actually overlook PowerApps, Flow, and Power BI, since why I'm here today.
So we're excited to jump right in. So what we're going to talk about in this session, we're going to do a bit of an overview for some of you who maybe don't understand or don't know much about PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. Then we're going to jump right in to demos. And we have a lot of great demos for you. We have some PowerApps and Microsoft Flow Power BI integrations, including using Microsoft Flow to send alerts from Power BI, to put PowerApps in the Power BI dashboards, to use Flow to insert data into Power BI data sets. And then we're going to do a couple of little sneak peeks of what's coming soon. And then we're going to talk about some related sessions so that you know where to go if you want to learn even more. Right? So we're going to jump right in with what is PowerApps and Microsoft Flow and why does this matter with Power BI. So in the world of today's IT, there are only so many problems that can be solved with off-the-shelf SaaS solutions. There's only so many SaaS solutions out there that we can buy and put in place to solve problems. Then when we build on top of that, in the IT organizations, there's only so much time and money that we can invest by doing custom software development to fit and build those applications to meet some of the other needs within our organizations. But there are all of these missed opportunities to optimize applications and build these line of business solutions that our business users truly need, they request, they ask for all the time. So how do we do that? What do we put in place? What do we use? At Microsoft, we've recognized that this is a problem. So what we have built is PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. These are our low-code, no-code solutions to line-of-business applications. So as you look at that, we have a number of scenarios that can be filled in using PowerApps and Microsoft Flow, whether this is an industry-related scenario, an app to do some type of delivery driver scheduling, to do quality assurance, to do time-off management, to do any number of solutions with PowerApps and Microsoft Flow combined together. You can build all of these great applications, and again, they are low-code, no-code solutions. And you're going to see that in our demo today. As we jump in and build things, you're going to see that they have no code needed for those. So we're going to go and look at those, but there's all of these areas that were just missed opportunities that we've filled in with PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. So Charles, let's jump in and get started.
So we got demos for the rest of the day. Is that okay with everybody? That's really it as far as the slides. So we're going to walk through 4 different scenarios for actually taking action on the insight that Power BI gives you. Sounds pretty cool. So what kind of action are we talking about? So if you have a Power BI alert, going out and doing crazy things like going out and figuring out if the value is higher than X, sending it to your managers. If it's even higher than that, maybe sending it to your corporate VP. So we're going to go out and take a look at Flow and alerts. We're also going to take a look at how you can use Flow to update those real-time data sets inside of Power BI. So take it from a low-code to a no-code scenario. The last one is going ahead and if you actually were using your app in a day on Sunday, how many people are here on the app in a day stuff on Sunday? Oh, not a lot of you. Okay. And we're going to show you how you can take those applications that you guys created and put it into a Power BI dashboard. So I'm sure everybody in this room that's ever built anything in Power BI has gone out and said, God, it'd be great if I could go ahead and update that value or schedule somebody as a result of seeing something. And I'm going to show you how to do that. The last one we actually just got working on Tuesday. We actually have the program managers in the room who gave me that build. It's not even in our int environment yet. To take a look and show you how you can go out and put Power BI tiles inside of your Power App. Does that sound pretty cool? All right.
That was a really exciting email to see come through
that was
on
pretty
Tuesday.
cool.
Like, it works!
So I don't know if you saw me come over and shake Darshan's hand. I hadn't seen him since then. So it was actually him and Philip that actually helped me do that. OK, so the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and go into let's refresh this. Why are we actually not seeing? Looks like we're looking at the to-do one. So we're looking actually at, we want to go from the to-do dashboard to the finished bit dashboard, and we're going to show you what we're going to build. So underneath the dashboards, there's actually one that's called Get Devices. And Get Devices, by the way, as I was talking to the Microsoft people, is when you start Microsoft, you're given this website URL and said, choose the computer that you want. You're like, we're here big time. This is how the big guys do it, right? And you go to this, and it has all these little pictures of all these different heuristics. And what you're supposed to do after you pick one is copy, I swear to God, highlight and drag over and copy the information from that. Alt-tab to Outlook, I am not kidding, and send it to your admin, and guaranteed you will not get the computer that you want the first 3 times. So that's the inspiration for this whole dashboard in this Power App, is to show how easy that they could have actually done it right. Again, it was done 10 years ago. Power Apps didn't exist 10 years ago. So this is what we're looking at. And if you go ahead and take a look at the 2 tiles, one is 840K, one says price. We're going to choose the computer that Kathy would have wanted. When Kathy started, they didn't even give her a choice. We realized they would have got it wrong, and they just handed her what was probably right. So we're going to go ahead and choose one of these, maybe that Acer right there, or that Acer works great. And then we're going to hit the button down at the bottom. And what you're going to see from the Power App, that's a Power App, what was the last price. And it should have actually gone ahead and updated with a different set of latency, and we'll talk about why that is. The overall aggregate sum of all the parts I'd ordered, and the last month actually is what I've actually set this to. So we're going to build that. Does that sound pretty cool? All right. So we're going to go ahead and go back to that to-do dashboard right here. And you'll see that there's big blank spots for this. This is our opportunity to actually have some fun. Right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and click on the MDIS workspace right above your mouse, 3 above it. And by the way, down a little bit more. Perfect. Click right there. By the way, Kathy is not a Power BI person. So if it looks like she hasn't seen these screens, I showed them to her 15 minutes ago, so she's an expert at this point. At this point, over in the far right-hand side, it says Create. We're going to drop down, and we're going to choose all the way down to Streaming Data Set. We're going to create one from, and there's 2 different types. One for PubNub. If you're a Java developer, you're probably familiar with that. And of course, there's the API ones. We're going to do the API ones and show you how easy those are to interact with. We're going to choose Next, and we're going to call this one Kathy, because Kathy's our hostess with the mostest who's helping me out today. And we're going to have 3 fields. One is going to be the ordered by. And I don't think the order matters because we change that every time. And ordered by is going to be text, right? That makes sense, Jason? Yes. You're following along? OK. And the next one's going to be price, and that one's of what type do you think price is going to be? Hendra? Actually, in streaming data sets, you get 3 choices. Date, number, or text. What do you think price is going to be? He thinks it's going to be a number, so let's go ahead and go with that. And let's go ahead and say model. We want to know which model to actually order in this case. OK? At this point, we're going to go ahead and turn on historical analysis. We forgot that one earlier, so she remembered that we didn't do that one. And the reason we're going to do that is, remember how we get the aggregate of all the values? This is how we're getting that aggregate, is by maintaining historical analysis. And we're going to go ahead and choose Create. And at this point, it gives you a couple different ways that you can actually go ahead and do data ingress to this REST-based or API-based set. We're going to grab that PowerShell, and we're going to highlight that and copy that. We're going to use that in a bit, but not quite yet. So did you put that in the clipboard? Mm-hmm. OK, good. And we're going to go ahead and choose Done. At this point, I see here I can look at dashboards, report, workbooks, or data sets. We're going to choose data sets. And hopefully, we're going to find the one that Kathy just created, whatever that name was. Would you call it Kathy?
I did. And
we're going to create a report off of that. And what can you guys create alerts off of? Is anybody in here? You can create it out 3 different types of visuals. You can create it on cards. Is that what you said? Cards?
Right,
cards. Gauges. You remember the other one? What was it?
Line chart.
No. I like the hairdo, but not right. OK, so KPIs. And the reason for only those 3 is because it can only have 1 value for the alert. That's why only those visuals have 1 value. So in this case, we're going to have Kathy find the card. It looks like she's already done that. And we're going to go ahead and do an alert on the price. Right? So when I spend my monthly quota, this is what Darshan gets, he can get notified. When he doubles his monthly quota, maybe Frank needs to get notified. And when they 10x that, maybe James gets notified. And this is something that we're going to show you how to do. OK, so it's blank because we haven't put any data in there. Let's go ahead and pin that. So the little pin thing is going to let us choose the dashboard. It's going to make us save this. So we're going to call this one Kathy, so remember what to delete and when I created it. And we're going to go out and call it and put it in the to-do. That's perfect. Now this is going to put it all the way in the bottom of that dashboard. In the upper right-hand corner, it'll actually let us take us to that dashboard. Perfect. And she's going to have to find it at the bottom, and she's going to drag it back up to that empty spot. Hopefully she's doing that behind me. Seth, she's got it? Okay, perfect. All right, and that looks awesome. Now, in addition to the aggregate, this is going to give us the total amount that I spent. I want the real time, the last value in. So what I'm going to have Kathy do is go over to Add Tile, choose Real-Time Streaming, and choose Next, and it should have the data set that we just created called Kathy. She's going to choose that and hit Next. It's going to ask her what value, and we only have one in this case that made sense, which is price. And in the drop-down. And by the way, my computer absolutely hated Kathy. It just wouldn't respond to any of her clicks, so hopefully we'll have better karma in this session. And hit Next, and Apply. We don't need to fill out any of this. And if we go back to the dashboard, oh, we're at the top. Oh, yeah, grab that and drag it to the top. Thank you. OK, we just need to put some values in here, right, guys? No, we need to set up the alert. We haven't done that. Values or alert? What do you want to do next? Alert. OK. So in the one that says blank, which is the card, you're going to hit the 3 dots, and there's a bell. And the bell is going to say, fire off an alert when a certain condition sends. Go ahead and click on the bell and add an alert. And we'll call this one Kathy as well. Again, we're going to stay consistent, so it'll be easy to figure out that we just added these. They weren't there before. And what we're going to do is say if the condition above, I don't know, what's a good limit for us on our monthly spend? I don't even know what you have allocated. Do we get like 50 grand for a month, or not that high? 50 grand. So let's put 50 grand. We don't go through a lot of hardware on my team. I've been running this Lenovo, which I love to death, for like 3 years now. OK, and we're going to go ahead and change it at most at 1 hour, so that way we actually fire this off, and save and close. So now we have an alert that's going to fire off. And let's go out and show the PowerShell. So open up a PowerShell. We'll put some data in there, and then we're going to set up that flow to actually toggle on that condition and let us know if something's gone on. So we're going to go ahead and paste it. She's already done that. And oops.
It didn't save it.
Where did we get that?
Where did it put it?
OK, so that's OK. We can go back and get it again. A lot of people actually can't find it. So if somebody's saying, hey, once you've dismissed the window, it's John Levesque, actually, from the Flow team. It's gone forever. It's just hard to find. It's not gone forever. So if you go ahead and click back on MDIS, and you actually go to data sets, and we go on Kathy, and it's the I. And now we go to PowerShell, and this time we really do put it on the clipboard. Apparently that didn't work for us. And I have the same problem. And Control-A, by the way, highlights the whole screen, which isn't as useful as what you'd like. And let's go ahead and hit Done. Oh, and let's go back to the dashboard so we can see it update before we actually.
I was just going to paste it first and before I hit Enter.
Oh, yeah. So
make sure that it's actually there.
Woo, we got a paste working. That's good. Let's go back to the dashboard and run that PowerShell. And it's updated. Let's actually run it one more time so I can show you, and then drag it over to the right just a tiny bit. So you can actually see that the card on the right is the last value, and the card on the left is the sum. Right? So we're looking at 2 different things. And we have a trigger to toggle if we go above 50K or whatever the case is. Now what we want to do is what the session's all about is set up that flow. So I think the last tab in this browser session are my flows, and we're going to go ahead and say create from blank. If you haven't gone out and started with flows, it's just flow.microsoft.com. And I think you need to sign in and click My Flows. We just happen to be kind of halfway in that scenario because we were practicing earlier. At this point, what are we going to toggle on, guys? An alert from Power BI. So I'm going to get Kathy to type in Power BI and click on the one that's not Donald Trump. And obviously, so I create a lot of custom triggers and custom activities. So there are hundreds of triggers and activities from Flow, and people are adding them all the time, not just Microsoft. And those are the ones I've added. So I've gone out, anything that I can get a REST endpoint for, I can create a Swagger file, and I can actually extend Flow, which is pretty cool. So I can go out and run anything. I can open my garage door based on an alert from Power BI. OK, we're going to go ahead and select the Power BI alert. And what we should see at this point is if we hit the dropdown, there's all the alerts inside of my tenant. Remember we logged into Power BI? This is logged in with that same identity. And you'll see that I actually have, or should have, one called Kathy, if we created it as Kathy. And we're going to select that. And what we're going to do is add a new step, and it's going to be a condition. Now, this didn't work out well for us in these dialog boxes, so hopefully this will be better. And then what we're going to do is let's take a look at this because we may never see these dialog boxes again.
Let's do it opposite. Let's put the value in first.
Yeah, let's put the value in first. That way we're gold. I like that. That's a good approach. So what it's saying is, based on some value, if the condition is equal to or greater than some other value, do stuff. Right? Does that make sense? Simple stuff, right? Low code, no code. So we're going to go ahead and say 50 grand on the box on the right. It won't let you type in. Oh, dang it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and.
We're going to just go for it.
Yeah, we're going to. So where these, let's talk about these values. These values are coming in from the Power BI alert. Yeah, does that make sense? A couple of heads nodding, yes? I think you guys are asleep, but that's still nodding, so I'm going to call that as a win. We're going to grab the value and bring that over. Okay, and that middle box, if we can get to that middle box, we're going to say is greater than. The box on the far right, score, win. We're going to go ahead and say is greater than 50,000. Okay. And what we're going to do in this simple scenario is if it's yes, greater than 50,000, we're going to go out and send email to God and Steve Ballmer and Satya and everybody else, right? So we're going to go out and say send email. And in this case, we'll just not send it to those people. We'll send it to just me or Kathy. And there, that one was a good account. And in the subject, it's going to go, whoa, way over something. And in the body, we're going to send in all that metadata. This was the alert. This is the URL to find the alert. This is the subject. This is the title, et cetera. All of that supplied through Flow through the initial trigger. Good? Have you guys looked at this before? Anybody? Wow, so a couple more people than even attended the labs, which is great, but still about less than 10%. And if it is not, what means it's above our alert of 2,000 or whatever the case was, we're going to go, we have an alert of 50,000 and we actually have the flow at 50,000. Let's set that value, or 50,000, let's set it to 100,000. So we actually literally have doubled what the alert value is for that.
So you want to change this to 100,000?
Yeah, change that to 100,000. Okay. Say again? Oh, the alert value is 500,000, so we want to make sure that this one's at 1 million. Good catch, thank you. I don't have a shirt, but you can have the speaker when you walk out. Okay, so if it's between 500,000 and 1 million, that's clearly not in our budgets. That's not in our team's budgets, but whatever, you get the idea. We're going to go out and say just a little over, and in the body, we'll go ahead and send it the same stuff, right? So taking action from the insight that Power BI is giving you and making it much more extensible for your guys' needs. I get this question asked all the time. How do I set up alerts on REST data sets? And how do I actually go out and factor Power BI alerts? So hopefully I answered both of those questions in this first demo. I got 3 more demos. Let's go ahead and save this as not untitled. Oh, actually, give it a cool name. When data-driven alert is triggered conditions.
Yeah, we can edit that. We can change it.
All right. Kathy is a good name, too.
I know. It's a better name.
All right. Can the alerts be dynamic in Power BI? So you wouldn't need to make it dynamic, because what you would do is you actually would set it up to where you'd always throw it into Flow. And yes, you can make Flow dynamic. So
your thresholds can be alternate based on
it sounds like you're getting back to Power BI, and I'm saying Power BI is not dynamic. Flow would be the dynamic one. So set it up into Power BI to where you're always throwing an alert. Deal with the logic here. We are going to extend alerts to go out and factor. I'm going to get to your question in just a second, where you can send it to different people. But we're not going to change the logic flow a lot because this takes care of this. And this is always going to be way ahead of where Power BI is going to be. Real quickly. So can the flow cook to Microsoft Graph? I want to say yes, because it's REST endpoints. I can make it do that. So through Swagger, the answer is definitely yes, and it uses OAuth 2. Now, are there built-in activities and triggers for that? I don't know, but they're adding new ones every day. Yeah, actually, yes, because I can go out and say user.manager, which actually talks to the Active Directory ones. So we've actually not factored it to Graph where you have to traverse the entire Office 365. We've given you point solutions that make sense. Yeah. And that wasn't real fast, by the way. Shame on you. Anyways, okay. We're up to demo number 2. We'll get to you at the end, or maybe we'll actually have the team help you out. So the second one that I promised you guys, or actually I did a little bit out of order, is we're going to go out and build a brand new Power App and put it into a dashboard, right? This was my favorite demo of all time for a while. We got one that's better from Philip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into SharePoint. And you'll see that this is a list I munged together. I kind of messed it up. Kathy's a SharePoint MVP. I should have talked to her. But you'll see that on all of your SharePoint lists, you actually have Power Apps as a default option. And we're going to go ahead and create a Power App for this. And then what this is doing as Kathy creates that Power App, it's creating the canonical 3-screen application for us, where I can go out and take a look at master detail, edit, and go out and do additions. So as she walks through this, it's creating connections to SharePoint. And it's not only is it doing it with no code, it's giving us full applications with search, filtering, navigation. It's done and done. Now, in this case, it's going to create it in portrait mode. The team is actually working on dynamic layouts right here. If you come to the session at 1:30?
1:30.
1:30 with Kathy and Audrey and Darshan, they're going to talk a little bit more about the roadmap. But they are working on that. Now you'll see it's actually done some best guesses, and also I mentioned in portrait mode. So what we're going to do is have Kathy create a brand new screen. So where it says new screen there, it's going to add it to the bottom. I'm going to have her drag it all the way to the top. Underneath of the file menu, I'm also going to change it from, remember I talked about dynamic layout. We don't have that quite yet. We're going to change it from a portrait layout to a landscape, because that really fits with our dashboard a little bit better. And then go ahead and come back to the application. And if you haven't looked at Power Apps, please go out and do something much more rudimentary than what we're doing. But underneath of the insert menu, there is galleries. We're going to have her throw on a horizontal gallery where it's going to go out and do a bunch of best guesses as to the data it thinks you want to display. We're going to actually correct those and fix those up a little bit. Where it says items, we're going to bind that to the devices list that, remember we said create Power Apps, and we were looking at a device list. So it brought that connection. So if you type in...
See, and this is where I taught
Chuck
earlier that you don't actually have to type anything to do this.
Don't type it.
Don't type it. Just use the drop-down to select your content source.
And that was created for us. Exactly right.
And then it changes it for you.
And we're going to update a little bit. So the pictures are actually of my thumbnails. Let's go ahead and choose that to be the photo. And the URL, let's change that to the model, because we need the model to actually do the ordering. Oh, no, we need the price. And we need to, okay, and we actually where it says manufacturer, we need price. So we need model and price. So again, it took a guess, and it could have been right. But for this scenario, we wanted the model and the price. Because remember where we're going to use those? We're going to put those into the REST data set. Okay. At this point, yeah, we're done. The application actually will navigate through. And we're going to actually show some ordering a little bit, but as far as embedding it, we've got enough data at this point. So on that first Power Apps tab, we're going to go ahead. Actually, I don't think you can get to it from here. I need the URL, so it's actually the Power Apps tab after this. Perfect. And we should be able to find the Kathy app, if that's the one that we just created. Go to details over on the right-hand side. And this tenant is actually in our int environment, so we're going to have to do a little bit of work on this to get it right that you won't have to do. But you do have to grab this URL. This is important. So we're going to go ahead and grab that link address. She's going to put that into a new tab and not run it, Kathy. Perfect. Before the word web, you do not have to do this. This is because it's in our int environment. She has to type in preview dot. So yes to pasting in the URL to get this to work. Not add the preview. At this point, she'll hit enter, and we should actually see this application render. I want her to grab this URL. This was the important part, to grab this URL. So if you can highlight that whole... And by the way, in addition to the browser, there are clients for Windows phones, Android phones, and iOS. It's really meant for a mobile metaphor first and foremost, desktop secondarily. OK, grab that URL. Let's go back to our dashboard. And this big, big square in the middle, if she hits edit and hits that little pencil, what do you think we're going to do here? There's actually something that says iframe equals. There's a great post by Ankit who actually walks you through how to actually build that iframe syntax. And it's actually in a walkthrough that I am working on right now. Is Ankit in the room? OK. He has a session. Today at 2:30, the power hour.
1:30.
That's
They're both at 1:30.
they're both at 1:30.
Yeah. You have to pick. It's
All
like
right.
the
So
Hunger
Ankit's
Games.
at 1:30, and he's going to show how to actually parse this and do some crazy other things. Or the one I'd probably recommend is, because it's dedicated to Power Apps and then, is Kathy's and Audrey's. So I'd probably recommend Kathy's and Audrey's rather than Ankit's. Ankit's is just crazy stuff that we're working on. Okay, let's paste the URL in there. And what you should see as soon as she pastes it, and even before she hits OK, you can now see your Power App in whatever majestic things that it does running inside your dashboard. Well, hang on,
Fancy,
we'll get to the oohs and ahs in a second. We'll get there. OK, so what's missing from that from our real one? This is our third demo. Does anyone remember what we were doing in that finished one? Button. We had a button. Who said that?
Over here.
Mr. Vancouver? You can share the speaker with that guy. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do, the button actually works off of a flow. So we're pushing the data into that REST data set from the flow. So what we need to do at this point is go ahead and go into the desktop studio. We've been doing everything from the web. This is required by the desktop studio. When are you guys going to get Flow working in this semester?
This week.
This week.
Not even this
Sweet.
semester, this
Okay.
week.
This week. So right now, Kathy's running the desktop studio, which is required for you to wire up Power Apps and Flows. And what I just heard is that they are checking in the ability to do that from the web client that we've been using. So a big round of applause for Darshan, guys. And this is actually a much richer experience. I would still recommend doing all of your authoring on here. The dragging, the dropping is still far, far better. The gallery resizing is pretty awful because of the browsers themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Kathy resize that gallery, give us a room for a button at the bottom underneath of it somewhere. And that button itself, so we don't want to get too far ahead of Kathy. Add the button, perfect. Underneath of action, after she moves the button down, there's a rocket ship that's the Flow logo. We're going to click on that. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us all the flows I've ever created that can wire up. In this case, I wanted to show you through that experience. So we're going to scroll all the way to the very bottom, and it should say Create Flow at the bottom. Remember this UI, right? We're back in the Flow UI. We're in the creation experience halfway down. So in this case, the trigger for this flow is going to be Power Apps itself on the button click. So there's a trigger called Power Apps, and that's what Kathy's going to type in. And we're going to go ahead and choose that first one. Select it again.
Because we have to really want it.
Yeah, you have to really want it.
Really
Do you
want it.
want it?
Like,
Do you really want it? Yeah.
Really want it.
And that was changed about 3 months ago. Okay, and the next step is going to be go ahead and push the data into the streaming data set. So add a new step, and we're going to add an action, and it's called Power BI. Power BI last time was a trigger. This is the action, right? Trigger versus action. Good? Yeah?
I really want it.
You really want it? Really want it? The workspace for this one is called MDIS. I created it specifically for you guys. We've been playing with it. And yes, you're way ahead of us. The data set is the one that we created in the first demo. And there's only one value that we can choose for real-time streaming data sets is real-time. At this point, it goes out and gives us all the fields for our data set. If we had 100 of them, they would have listed 100. If you look at my Twitter tutorial, I think there's 36, and it lists all 36 that you have to populate. So in this case, the first one is asking
Ordered by.
for ordered by, and we're going to ask in Power BI.
Power Apps.
And we're actually going to do that for all of them. So price is going to come from, Power Apps, yes. In my slides, I actually gave Kathy, I actually just had the word power all the way through, and I made her fill out whether it was apps or Power BI or whose power and which power. Okay, so.
It was a fun challenge.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for fixing those for me. And let's go ahead, and after we've updated the data in the real-time streaming set, well, we can go out and do things like add a approval. So let's, the new step, we're doing okay on time?
We're doing good. We got 20 minutes.
And she nodded yes and didn't look at anything. I love that. Yes, you're doing great on time. Okay. And we're going to say approval here. And the approval will be, once again, that Chaz mailbox. If we have time, we're going to go open in that mailbox. You're going to see all the stuff that's been dumped in there. And the approval for this flow is going to wait for that approval and actually succeed or fail based on whether or not the approval was in there. So you need to think about the ordering. No matter what, in all cases, we're going to push the data in there. but it may get declined in the approval stat later. So interesting things like that. Okay. And she's way ahead of me. She knows what she's doing here, which is great. We're going to save it, choose Create Flow. And if we go back into the desktop studio for PowerApps, and we go ahead and take a look at our list of flows, we should actually find a Kathy flow, or whatever Kathy named it. And what you're seeing up at the top is it added the parameter list up at the top, right? See the parameter list? And the first one, it says ordered by. Now, we didn't get really into PowerApps. Audrey's going to do that a little bit more, but there's actually an inbuilt function called user. So we're going to type in USER. You like this? I'm going to type it. Perfect.
That wasn't what we did first.
We had the order different before.
We had the order different? Okay.
Yeah, but ordered by is, I can see it, and it's open paren, close paren. So it knows who is logged in, and I can ask for things like manager and email and full name, and then it's a dot. Oh, backspace.
I already did the dot.
Oh, you did the dot? Okay.
See?
And then that's the email of whoever's logged in. And you need to supply it. A comma, and it looks like the next one is price. So this gallery where all these things are displayed is called Gallery 1. Right? How did it get Gallery 1? That's what it named it when we drug it over. And dot selected, because we're going to select one of these computers. Dot, and I think there is actually, the column is called price. Is this working for you?
Yeah, very well.
Okay. And the next parameter is, what is the next parameter?
Model.
It's
Add road, start, load, add rows
Model.
to data set model.
It's model.
I don't know what that one actually is. Interesting. You know, when I don't know what things are, I don't even know the data type that one wants. It should have, oh, it's the model.
It's the model.
Okay, yeah, okay. So we know what we're doing. Yeah. I just got,
I mean, he's acting like he's lost for a minute. And this is his demo.
I was having this conversation with a gentleman. I'm like, what the hell are we doing up here? So it's going to be gallery 1 dot selected, and then instead of price, it's model, right?
The text is just really hard to read.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. Okay, so Ginger's defending me. I love you, Ginger.
Love you too, Jack.
Dot model, and close parentheses. Once we save this, we Alt-tab back to Power BI, our dashboard, refresh that so it picks up the brand new build. What we should see is a button, and if she selects a computer first and hits the button.
If I remember which one it is.
I have no idea. I think it's that one in the very first tab. And then, yeah, and then do a refresh. Come on, button. We so want a button at the bottom of this screen that's drawing. Come on, button.
Come on, button. You could do it.
I sound like Dora the Explorer. All right.
There's a button.
So let's select a different computer than what we selected last time. And let's go ahead and hit the button. And if there's any justice in the planet, we should actually see those two tiles updating. We will pause for applaud at this point. All right. I didn't think it could get any better, but it does. So this is the stuff we got working. Philip actually is the PM on it. And he gave me the first drop on Tuesday. He gave me another build on Thursday. This is what you're going to see. So in that virtual machine, because it screws up your machine, you do not want this build at all. That one, perfect. Let's maximize that. And I pinned this build of PowerApps. And we're going to go out and do File New when it actually starts. And I'm going to show you how it does get better. We're going to go to the Insert menu, and under Controls, she's going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see where magic starts happening.
You ready for it?
We're ready for it.
Oh, yeah, tile.
Let's go ahead and add that. Let's size that out a little bit. And under Data, this is what they actually got working on Thursday. It's going to do the same thing, and it's going to enumerate those workspaces. We're going to go out and go to that MDIS workspace.
Of course, it's at the bottom.
It's going to go out and ask, of course it's the last one. It's going to ask which of those dashboards do you want to look at, and it's going to enumerate every visual that's on that dashboard. Some of them don't render yet. That's not a PowerApps issue. If you go out and look at their embedding, you'll see that they don't embed for Power BI either. Question right here.
So why go to the dashboard first instead of to the report?
Great question. Why would I actually use the dashboard, or when would I use the PowerApps? Let's think about the different metaphors or the different memes for the two applications. Power BI is all about getting the insight and the analytics, right? This is what you guys are here for. You are Power BI people. You're used to looking at data, and if there's something very, very small that you need to go ahead and round trip or take action on, putting it in the dashboard makes sense. If you have something that is transactional and you do have mostly a mobile workforce that is updating data, and they just need to go out and figure out which one cost more or which one actually had the best price per memory, price per CPU analysis with a small tile, PowerApps is clearly the hands-down winner there. And actually going out, she's not a Power BI person, but go ahead and choose one of those tiles. And Kathy's not a Power BI person, but for her to go out and use all of the data and the analytics that your BI people have given it into her application just makes sense. Just lever the strengths where they're at. So as creators, go ahead and enable them to use all of this stuff. So guys, this is the coolest thing that you're going to see at this conference, bar none. You could go home at this point and be sold. If you haven't looked at PowerApps yet, do stick around. Look at Audrey and Kathy's session on how to actually build this stuff in real, not the hacks or the quick put-togethers that we're doing. So I'm going to hand the microphone back to Kathy and let her wrap up. I've got a bunch of the team over here that are happy to answer questions, and I think we'll be around for lunch right outside the Ask the Experts area. I see people nodding yes, so we're going to take that as yes. Kathy, back to you.
Fantastic. I'm going to skip through all our demo slides so that people knew what we were talking about. That was our sneak peek. It was great, right? Seeing it working, what you can expect to see coming up. So we wanted to talk a little bit about roadmap, what you can expect to see as we continue moving forward with Power BI integration into PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. So what you can see on the screen is what we have currently planned for the first half of the calendar year of 2017, so going through June, end of June. So you can see we have things like the Power BI Flow Trigger, which you saw us using, the integration into dashboards. So all of those are things that you're starting to see come into play now. And then you can look at our second half of the calendar year, so June through December. What you can start to expect for that is having Power BI custom visuals in PowerApps, having runtime parameters into PowerApps and from PowerApps. And then that dynamic layout that we were talking about. So I don't have to pick portrait or landscape. We have that dynamic layout. So that's kind of our other big one that we'll see coming through the other half of the year. So we've got a lot of really great things on our roadmap for both PowerApps and Microsoft Flow with Power BI integration. And we really see this growing and expanding as people start to use it, as we use it more, as we hear what you're wanting. And we highly encourage you to join our community at powerusers.microsoft.com. If you don't know anything about that, look for us in the lunchroom. There's a big community sign. We have a prize swag going on back there. You can come win some t-shirts, download an app, and earn some points all around the conference, win t-shirts, win other prizes. But join our community. That is truly where we interact as Microsoft and our engineering teams with people who have questions or have suggestions for things that you want to see happen. And we truly do listen to that. So please join our community. So that kind of gets us through our session here, and we did leave time for questions at the end. We hoped that you would have questions, and we have several more members of our team here to help answer those questions. So if you do have questions, please come to the microphone in the center of the room so that we can all hear you, and then we're going to have the guys come up and help answer those questions as well. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Hi.
You want, oh.
Yeah, no, you got to say it out loud. Everybody gets to hear your question. So Ashley has a question, everybody.
So we had problems with VPN last summer.
Uh-huh.
And then we posted on the community, and then they said it's in the roadmap.
Okay, so the question was, where's VPN on the roadmap? It should be working right now, right?
Well, I haven't checked.
Okay.
Like 6 months.
Yeah, so the VPN should be working. I would be skeptical of
VPN, are you talking about the gateways?
So, no, VPN for internal employees to use the app offline.
Offline, actually.
That's a different question.
So offline support is something we shipped last month. So we have a blog post on how to use your apps offline.
Okay.
So you should go check that out.
Yeah, go out to powerapps.microsoft.com in our blogs. We have a whole post out there about how offline access is. Yeah?
Okay, got to ask it in the microphone. Otherwise, they won't pick it up. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Perfect.
When will this slide be available on the web to use or to view from our offices?
You realize we had 2 slides, right?
Oh yeah, I want this entire
Okay.
presentation on
Okay.
YouTube.
So the videos are actually been submitted to Guy in a Cube already. It's just a matter of he hurt his back. Otherwise, they would have already been posted this week. So, and as far as the 3 slides that we did, I'm guessing.
They're going to be available with the rest of the conference materials. It's usually about 2 weeks.
And this recording is going to be available tonight. If you watch my Twitter feed, you'll see that I've been updating them all day and all last night. We actually already got them up last night.
Oh wow, so I could next week perhaps go in and redo your work based on the video that you just presented to us.
And there should be a hands-on lab on my blog as well after that. But thank you very much. That's great to hear.
Hi, a couple of questions. Is the desktop app going to be available other than in Windows 10? Because right now it's only in the store.
So the PowerApps Studio.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, we do have a web version of it that works in the web browser. And like Chuck was pointing out here, there was Flow and a couple of other things missing from there. But this week's update that we are going to ship later this week should bring the web authoring at parity with Windows 10.
Excellent.
So you could just use it from any browser.
Okay. And a small issue that I had in the past.
You realize the questions are $5 each, right? No, go ahead. Sorry.
There's a common issue with OneDrive for Business that the tables cannot be read by other users despite you share the whole file of the folder. Something that in the user community has been brought up, something like that can be fixed.
So that's a problem with our Excel connector. The way that works is if multiple people can't use that Excel file at the same point. So if you want multiple people to edit, we suggest at this point that you move to a data source like SharePoint or SQL, which does that. However, that said, on our roadmap, we are building a brand new connector connecting to Excel services, right? Which will then solve this problem for OneDrive for Business, because today it talks to Excel like an Excel client would, and the Excel client has exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, $5,000 question. Do you need Power BI Premium to embed the Power BI tiles into PowerApps?
So the question is do you need Power BI Premium to embed those tiles that we just showed? So there's a hint actually in the question that was just asked. I am embedding the tile into PowerApps. So what you actually need is not Premium. You actually need the brand new SKU that was announced yesterday, which costs $650 a month for lots and lots and lots of users. So the price point per user should be very, very, very low. So no, you don't need Premium. Yes, you do need a capacity, specifically at least an embedded capacity.
So from the PowerApps side, to be clear though, right? As long as you have access to that tile in the dashboard, you can access it. Doesn't matter what license of Power BI you have. Right. Okay. Right, but from the Power BI side, to make it available, you need the right license.
We covered several different metaphors. Great point. And I actually take PayPal for the $5,000. Okay.
Any plans to make this available report server on-prem?
The question was any plans to make this available
which
for
part?
report server?
Yeah, which part?
SQL Server, report server, like
We went through 2 different flows metaphors. We went through.
To embed a SAS report.
So report
into
server
PowerApps.
does not plan on delivering dashboards. So nothing to do with PowerApps. Report server does not plan on delivering dashboards. It's really hard to integrate in dashboards that don't exist. So that one actually is.
However, we are in the roadmap. What you saw in the keynote yesterday was embedding an app within a report, Power BI report, right? That's on the roadmap. That was on the H2 plan there.
The custom visual,
months, yeah. That one, that's a great question. We haven't yet discussed it, but that is something I can see how we could do in the future.
Yeah. And we did not cover that because that one's actually a ways out. So I intentionally didn't cover the custom visual. Great question, though. Okay. I like the line. It's cute and very orderly. It's nice.
Okay. So this is back to the alerts. Are we able to set multiple conditions?
So Yanni, as I was saying, what you're going to want so the question was, can I set multiple conditions on an alert? An alert in Power BI is off of a gauge, a KPI, or a card, which only has one value. You're going to pass in that value into Flow, and then you would have to go out and suck in those other conditions that you're going to need from Flow. So the answer is no. In Power BI, they do not plan on having this and that and this, or no. The next thing, and Siri, actually, I think his session was yesterday. He may have talked a little bit about his roadmap. He's the one that owns that. The next thing that they're delivering is going out and factoring who it gets sent to. Right now, it's actually a flat list, and they're going to go out and work on how it's sent and who it's sent to. But multiple conditions, I do not believe is in the short-term roadmap, and I don't know that it's on any roadmap because Flow handles that so well.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
So the answer is actually yes, but via Flow.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely use Flow for that. Yeah. Great point.
Congratulations with the presentation. So my question is, you did the example for the endpoint for the card, the KPI, and you enable the historical. But if I just want to monitor a value, let's say that I want if temperature goes below a particular value, but I only need the latest value, I don't want to populate a data set. I just want the latest value. I may have the historical for a line chart, but in order to trigger an alert.
Okay, so what you'd have to do, it's complicated and it's not straightforward, and there's some gaps in the product. The easiest way to do that actually is using Cortana to ask it the question and pin that as a card, but you'd actually have to go all the way back to the report, add different fields like the time, because remember we did date time, or some other unique way of specifying only the last one. So it's not going to be easy nor straightforward.
Yeah, because I was also thinking, I went to the custom data content and enable my endpoint so that the API that I create just exposes the latest value. I don't know if I explained. So I create a custom content data so that I can expose an API that has the latest value, and then this way I'm just getting the latest value. Would that approach work?
So your custom API is pushing it to our data sets and another data store where you could actually grab the last value? Is that what you're asking? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, that would absolutely work. That would be probably a better solution than my gymnastics in Power BI. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. I tend to try to avoid custom dev work stuff answers because a lot of them aren't dev. Yeah.
Could external users interact with this in any fashion, like customer-facing or vendor-facing? And if so, how do they need to live in our Azure Active Directory, or how does that work?
So once again, we covered lots of different pieces. So can you quantify which of the...
Interacting with PowerApps specifically.
Not yet.
Roadmap?
Sorry?
Roadmap?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Second half? This year on the roadmap?
For external users? No.
Maybe, not sure yet, no.
If they lived in Azure Active Directory, then they could interact, yes?
So there's two different types of external users, and I want to see if I understand the answer too, because I actually don't know the answer. So there are true MSA, I don't know who you are, I'm going to add you, like Flow supports now. And then there is B2B collaboration where I add foreign principals. Bingo. When you say foreign, can you say which?
No, currently you can't, the users need to be in this AAD tenant.
Right.
So in the roadmap, I think the first step would be the B2B, supporting B2B.
Perfect. Right.
That one is, I'm not sure we can get it in the next 6 months, but if you look at next 6 to 9 months, yes, it's on our roadmap, although there is like lots of other things which are higher priority than that at the moment, like enabling Flow in web authoring. But yes, that is coming. If we will see if we can pull that in.
And that timing actually correlates when Power BI plans on getting B2B collaboration and foreign principals. And so right now we're both looking at 6 months. So you cannot in Power BI give access to these people as foreign principals right now. You can't do that. So we have to add it in Power BI, and they're also adding it in PowerApps. I moved out of the building, so I'm kind of feel disconnected, and I live with the Power BI team. So
I heard you're coming back, though.
I should. Okay.
So you might as well be a foreign principal.
I am a foreign principal to the PowerApps team. That is a great way of describing me. Plum jacket lady, just hanging out.
Anybody else?
Right here.
Sure. So environments in PowerApps and Flow, are those going to come to Power BI?
What would that look like, Brian?
So it'd be great to have the way it's expressed for use is with that dev and test and prod environment.
Okay. So Audrey did a presentation on that yesterday, and that's not on even short, mid, or long term. What they're going to plan on doing is getting the whole app workspaces working, getting Lifecycle wired in and working in that. And now if we need, because the reason PowerApps have done that is gone out and done separation of concerns for like Germany versus Australia. That would be something that we would have to then look at after the fact. Right now, we solve that with different tenants, which introduces a ton of different problems as well, like the lack of B2B collaboration.
Yes, we have discussed this with Power BI team multiple times, I mean from the PowerApps and Flow side as well. Power BI already has workspaces and apps, right, which are sort of, which are concepts that solve some of these problems in a slightly different way. So we have talked about eventually we would like to, as the whole business platform, get to a single notion of environments and so on. But like Chuck said, it is not in the next, it's not an immediate problem to solve.
Okay, guys. Gentleman said actually we has a personal question. I don't know. Maybe it's something about his hygiene, so he doesn't want to. Otherwise, let's go ahead and call this a day. Go out and grab lunch. Thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you so much.